Good morning everyone, I'm Nida Ahmed and today I shall be presenting on authorization and roles in SAP. So my first slide will show you a list of concepts that I've included in this presentation in order to bring forth roles, how to create them and what authorizations we use in them and how to authorize them. So first of all we will go through the authorization concept. I will explain it in the next slide. We will then go into defined roles, types of roles, then we will go into profile generator, user and role authorization. Our major focus is on single and composite roles, and then I've included some screenshots to show you in order to how to create a single role and how to create a composite role. So the first slide here shows us the authorization concept. So in the authorization concept, first of all we have the authorization class. It is a group of authorization objects. That makes us wonder what an authorization object is. So an authorization object is, in plain or layman language, it is the lock that we put for a user to have access to specific functions. Not everything, just specified functions in them. Within these objects we have different fields that are listed there, and within these authorization fields we have our permission. So to explain this further, I will include an example. For example, our authorization class in this case is HR. HR has different objects under it. Well, one of them is personnel administration, another one is organizational management. For example, we take these two objects under the HR class. Again, within these two objects there will be fields specified further which will carry the authorization for the user in it. So these fields will permit the user to go up to a certain level and have access to it, after which he will be stopped there because there will be a restriction on it. So that's how this authorization concept works. As we go further, I will define roles here. There are three different ways through which I have tried to put them together and define roles. From the business perspective, a role is a set of tasks or functions that a person fulfills in an organization. From a technical perspective, we would say it is a grouping of authorizations, because that is the whole technical scenario in which we authorize the user in order to implement his role. From an enterprise perspective, a role is a set of all technical roles that correspond to a business role, which is the first one. So basically this is just a definition from three different perspectives, that is business, technical and enterprise. Now we come to types of roles. So we have roles. First we have the single role. In the single role it is a role, one role that we assign to a single user. He will have all the authorizations for that one particular role. The second one is a composite role. So a composite role is again, in this situation, the user actually has more than one or two roles assigned to him, due to which we will assign him in the composite role. Next we have the reference role. This is a role from which we derive roles. So it is a template or a reference role from which we can derive certain roles in the company. The last one is the derived role. The derived role, as the name implements, it's a role that refers to a reference role. It takes the reference role as a template and derives different roles from it. It might have certain authorizations assigned to one role and might not have those same authorizations in the second role. So, but it will have the whole concept will be from the reference role. So these are the different types of roles we managed to put here. Now I come to the profile generator. So a profile generator is a standard tool for maintaining roles in ABAP system It uses transaction code PFCG. This is the code that we use to start to create a role. Through this PFCG, we can either create a role or we can change roles. Going into the profile generator, first of all, we will assign a name to the role. Moving further, we will have selection of either that role is a single role or a composite role. So we have the option of clicking on any one of them. Then we will include a description of the role in this generator. After which we will move on to the menu. The menu will have different transaction codes in this, which will be assigned to the role. This will be related to the role, the name of the role, what are the functions of the role. So the transaction codes will depend on those functions and will be according to those functions. Then we move on to authorizations. So in authorizations, we have different fields where we will permit the user to go ahead and access the information or the data in the system. That is what we do in authorization. And after which we move on to specify a user for this role. Then we assign the user here to the role in the profile generator. So these are the functions of the profile generator, which we will also see when I move on to my system presentation. So now I'm showing you a slide where I will pick up a user and I will show the role authorization according to the which I generate in the profile generator. So first of all, we have the user. Now the user needs access to these transaction codes. He needs access to PA40 for a hiring process, PA30 for maintaining HR data, and PA10 for access to personnel files. So we assign these transaction codes for him to give him access into the menu of the role. So this is the place where these transactions are assigned. After which we generate a profile for him. In the profile we will have the ST code. Now this code is an authorization T code which will let him start the transactions. Coming down, we will put blog here, which will give him access to organizational management. So this is another authorization code for that. And then we have P organ, which will give him access to HR master data. So this is how the profile generator works, where we have transactions right inside the menu of the role. Then the profile is generated on the basis of these T codes and authorizations. These have fields in them where we go and give authorization to the user according to his, according to his role. So moving on, I've included some screenshots. For a single role creation, we will go to, first of all, PFCG. In SAP Easy Access menu. From there, we put PFCG and come to the first screenshot for creating a single role. Right here, I have created a role for financial accountant. You put in the role name here, and you go onto single role. After clicking onto single role, this is the next screen that we see, where on the first place we have the description, where we have to give some description about the role, and we also can give further description for long text over here. Moving on, we will now be on the role menu. Just as I explained in the profile generator, this is the role menu where we go into the role folder and we create new folders. So this guy has a folder for accounts receivable processing, which I assigned to him in his menu. These are the T codes that are assigned to him as he is a financial accountant. These are the only transactions that he will be assigned to use. Moving on to authorizations. So right now I'm on the authorization levels. We click on to change authorization data. In the previous screen we come onto this screen. This shows us the authorization objects right in front of us. We have the T code for start the transaction, and as we move down we have different authorization objects. So moving on, after we have put in all the authorizations, we move on to user. Right here on this screen we assign our user and the username and the date from and to, and he's the user for whom we have created the role. So we need to create a user before creating the whole role. So for that we need to go to SAP Easy Access menu and put in SU01 for creating a user. Over here we give in the name, and right here I have taken a screenshot of that role which we already generated through the profile generator and assigned, and the user has already been assigned to that role. Over here we log into the system again and see that the role has been assigned to him. It is coming down in his user menu here when we log in as the test user. Moving on, now we come to composite role creation. Again, we follow the same steps as we followed in the single role creation. We put in PFCG in the SAP Easy Access menu. We come to the first screen, we put in the role name here. Again, we will put a description right under the role name, and also we can include a long text description over here in the space available. Again, description. Roles assigned, we move on to roles, and over here we will select the roles for which this user has been, the roles that this user has been assigned to. And of course, because it is a composite role creation, he will have more than one role assigned to him. So right here you can see that there are 3 roles that have been picked up here, which are going to be assigned to him, to the user. Moving on, when we open the menu for this user in the composite role, we see that he's already been pre-assigned with the transaction codes, because we had already assigned him to the roles that were created earlier, which already had a menu assigned to them. So right here we have the pre-assigned transaction codes in the folders that were assigned to the roles. So this is just a screenshot of that. Again, we go on to the user tab and we assign our user here. This is how this user is assigned to the composite role, having different roles assigned to the same user. Again, we log on as the test user. We change our hats and we create the user first, and then we log on to the system, to the SAP system, as the test user who has been assigned that composite role. And right here we can see in his menu that he has been assigned to all of those roles which were included in his composite role assignment. Assigned a logistics warehouse management role to him, the material master role, and the OM processor role. So all 3 are here, which I assigned in the composite role. And with this I come to the end of my presentation. Now I will move on to my system presentation creation. Thank you. So now I'm going to start with my system presentation for creating a single role and then creating a composite role. I log on with my user. I'm in the SAP Easy Access menu, and to start to create a single role I will put in the transaction code PFCG. It will bring me to the first screen for creating the role, where I will give the role name. We are creating this role for a financial accountant, so I will put in Z:, finance _ accountant _ 042, which is my ID, and I go on to single role. So this is over here. I'm going to give a description of the role. So role for financial accountant. And we can include a long text description over in this space. I'm just including the T codes that I'll be using here in the long text. So save it. We move on to the menu. We select the role menu folder and we make a new folder for the T codes to be placed in. So the name of the menu folder that I'm giving here is Accounts Receivable Processing. It's already in place. I select it, go to Transactions, and I put in the T codes. So now I put in the 3 transaction codes. I assign the transactions here. It is given the transaction along with the type of transaction name, and it is right under the folder that we created, Accounts Receivable Processing. So now we move on to the authorizations. We go to Change Authorization Data. It's saying you must save the role first. Yes. So these are the organizational levels that we see here. For now, we will give full authorization to them. And right here are the authorization objects we were talking about when I was on this screen. So we can see that all the start transaction code is green, which shows full authorization is given here. Full authorization is given on the second authorization objects. Over here we have all these which we will give full authorization to. After which we generate the profile. So profile created, we save it, and we go generate it again, profile generated. Now we have the user here. So now I'm going to change my hat, and as a system administrator for creating users, I will go back to the system. In the new session, I need to create a user now. For that, I will put SU01, and I will pick up my user here. Since I had already made a user, I will just put in the name and go to create. It's going to ask me to get all the previous information that I had keyed in for this user, and I'm going to say yes. So right here, he has all the information. So we go into logon data, we change the password. And we save it. So the test user 42 is saved and created now. So we go back to our SAP, go back to our change roles screen, and we go to user tab. Right here I'm going to assign my user, test 42, and as soon as I enter it, it'll pick up the user with his name and dates. And now I go to user comparison, complete comparison, save the role first, and now the user has been assigned to this role, to the single role that we have created. Now we can go exit the system. After saving it, we can exit the system and log on as the test user 42. So log on as test 42. It will ask me to change the password. Yes. So here we can see that the folder that we assigned to him while creating a single role is right here, accounts receivable processing, and we have the 3 transaction codes that we assigned over there in his user menu. So this basically allows him the authorization to have access to only these 3 transaction codes in his role. So now I'm going to go over and go over to the main SAP menu screen and make the composite role. So I'm making a composite role for material master. Composite role, so I'm just going to put in that. Just go with the same 042. So now this role is being made as a composite role. I click on composite role. I again come to the description. Over here I'll include a description for the role. And right here in this space, I will include the long text for it. Now I move on, I save this first. I move on to roles. There's a tab which has roles in it. Since it is not a single role, it is a composite role, over here we will select the roles that we have to assign to this user, which is of course going to be more than one. So I'm going to look for material master roles. So we want to select logistics warehouse management role, and I want to select a material master role 42, and I also want to select the customized role 42. So they're all here as I selected from the list, and when I enter, the name and the target system is going to be picked up here. Save it, and I move on to menu. Over here, we're not going to create a folder, a menu folder. We are going to import menu because we have already assigned roles here. So they have menus in them already assigned to those 3 specific roles. So we're going to import menu, and we have it right here. So these are the transaction codes in one of the roles. This is another transaction code right here. Then we have material master role with logistics, and further T codes where we create, change, display, or display changes. So these are all the roles that the 3 roles that we assigned to our material master role, which is the composite role. We save it, and we move on to the user. So now we have to assign the user to this role. Again, we will, as we already created the user, we will select the same user, go to enter, pick up the user from the system, go to user comparison. It says save the role first. We do that. Go to user comparison. And right here we see all the roles that we picked up for the user. We say yes. and we save it. Now again, I'm going to change my hat and I'm going to log in as the test user 42. And see if my user has been assigned all of these roles. Okay, so I'm going to log on as the test user 42 here, put in my password. Okay, it's saying I've already logged into the system as the user. So right here we see that my user menu, the user has been assigned all of those roles that I included in creating as the composite role, the logistics warehouse management, the customized edit project role here, and the material master role, which includes logistics, and further on it includes all of these: create, change, display, and display changes. So these were all the roles that we created as the composite role, and they are shown here in the user menu. So with this, I come to the end of my system presentation. Thank you for listening with patience. Thank you.